Welcome to San Joaquin Spotlight, a public affairs program featuring conversations about life in the central San Joaquin Valley. This program is brought to you in partnership between KFSR 90.7 FM and CMAC Fresno. Today we're going to be talking about jobs, specifically jobs for youth, with Doug Betts. Doug is a event chairman for an event coming up called the Mayor's Youth Job Fair. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sevag. Happy to be here.
Before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about you because, you know, people in the audience may not know that you're also a part of this volunteer crew that we have that actually does San Joaquin Spotlight. So how did you get involved in the whole CMAC?
Oh, CMAC. Well, it was for my pursuits for youth projects. I have another youth project I work on, aviation related. And because of that, in my involvement in the chamber, I got involved with the State Center Consortium. Heard about CMAC through some people there.
So for our audience members watching this program or listening to us, Doug is a part of the volunteer crew here at San Joaquin Spotlight, along with many others who are volunteering their time to do this program. So thank you to the volunteers, and thank you for volunteering your time for this program.
Certainly, you're welcome.
But another thing that you do that I find amazing is you're also a pilot, and you're very involved in aviation. Tell us about that.
Very involved in aviation. I got my pilot's license in 2001. On September 11th, 2001, I was up in the air with my instructor preparing for my pilot exam.
September 11,
2001, the day. We were ordered to land because of what was going on, obviously. Currently, my youth projects involve the EAA Chapter 376 and our Bill Smiley Aviation Center project, which has a lot of opportunities for youth, and we're just developing an intern program right now with that. And when I got involved in that, that led me into getting involved with education activities through the Chamber of Commerce, and that eventually led to this Mayor's Youth Job Fair opportunity.
And you're a part of the group at the Chamber of Commerce that's putting this thing on. What group is that?
That's the Business Education Committee at the Chamber of Commerce. I've been the chairman of that for several years. And a few years ago when Mayor Swearingen came into office, that was around the 2008 period when the economy went so bad, and she had to start making cuts to the money that the mayor's office was spending. Well, the previous mayor, Alan Autry, had initiated this Mayor's Youth Job Fair and funded it and operated it out of the mayor's office. So I heard through the mayor's staff that she was going to need to cut this, which I was totally in support of that decision because it makes sense to cut budgets. But I went to her and asked her, hey, can we operate this Mayor's Youth Job Fair for you out of the Chamber of Commerce with zero money from the mayor's office? She loved the idea. At the time, she was recruiting volunteers for a lot of help that the city needed.
So what do you do next? The mayor says, yes, we should have this thing continue. What do you do next?
Well, I took it to my committee, the Business Education Committee at the Chamber of Commerce, and talked about the idea with them. It made a lot of sense to the Chamber of Commerce. It makes a lot of sense to Business and Education Committee to get involved in this because what we're interested in is helping the young people of our community get into productive employment. We want to show them that we are a community that is prepared to help them and nurture them as they grow into adulthood to become productive citizens of our community and trying to encourage them to stay here and help reduce the brain drain that we've had in Fresno.
Off camera, we were talking a little bit about your background, and you specifically decided that you would stay here in this area. Why?
Well, when I was in high school, I very clearly remember having a consciousness that I would likely stay here the rest of my life. At that time, I was very involved with organizations and opportunities to be involved with adults. And I felt that I was already developing a network of contacts in this town, and that if I continued that, that those contacts and networking would pay off for me down the road, as opposed to going to a new city and was like being the new kid in school. And so the idea of making this my home for my life appealed to me when I was in high school.
We're going to get ready to show this first flyer in a little bit, but before we do that, I want to ask you, networking. We hear it all the time, but do you think people understand how important actual networking is?
Oh, I don't at all. It's incredibly important and beneficial. Every contact that you make, whatever environment it might be, you never know what that contact might lead to later. This is a little bit of a humorous story and getting way more personal than I thought we would get, but
thank you, because this makes it interesting and it makes people know who you are.
yeah, there was a gentleman that I came into contact with, and the reason I came in contact with him at the time was because we were both dating the same girl. And he
Wow.
was letting me know that I was losing, that she was going to go back with him. And well, I was cordial with him and handled that encounter gracefully. He's now one of my closest friends and a friend of mine in the flying community.
Wow, what a small world.
Yeah.
So let's show this flyer so our audience members gets to see one of the flyers. And so this is it, the Mayor's Youth Job Fair for young adults aged 16 to 25. When is this?
This is April 16th on a Wednesday. That's during spring break. And this is something we came upon just 2 years ago, where we decided to try it on spring break. The reason against it was saying, well, the kids are gone, and we thought, well, maybe that's not true. And we found it indeed was not true. So by doing this during spring break, we could do it on a weekday rather than doing it on a Saturday. And that worked a whole lot better for the employers, because it was easier for them to come out during the week than on a Saturday. So we have currently using Wednesday of spring break, and that's from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. But the secret is, if you know about this, is you can get VIP admission at 9 a.m. So you get in before the rest of the crowd.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. Now, you have to do the right things to make that happen. The way you do that is you go to one of our job fair preparation workshops. We have them at several of the high schools, but if you don't have it at a high school, then you call this phone number that's on the bottom of the poster, 559-349-7461. And that'll get you to the Learn to Earn office, which is also in Manchester Center. And they have a job fair preparation workshop every Friday from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. So you attend that workshop or attend one of the workshops at the high school, and you find out how to get in to the event an hour early so that you can get the first attention of the employers that are there.
Speaking of the employers that are there, off the top of your head, what industries or who will be there?
It's a wide variety, and I don't have a listing of the ones that are actually signed up, and we are still working on signing them up. We'll probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 50-ish employers there. We've had Forest Service, police and fire, city, fast food restaurants, business offices. This year we're going to have an attorney's office there. I'm particularly excited about that. They're actually a client of mine for my business, the way I pay for doing this fun stuff. And they'll be there recruiting either employees or what they call externs, where a young person can get some office experience just working for them. It's a great opportunity, and this particular company is fascinating in the way they deal with young people. I have seen them actually help their employees go back to school and become lawyers.
That's incredible. And, you know, a lot of people will think, law firm at a youth job fair, why? Talk about that.
Absolutely. They have young people working in their office. They need office staff to help. They may be doing filing, they may be doing errands, they may be actually at a desk working on a computer. And I have seen employees of theirs come in to start out as just filing or maybe receptionists, and work their way up through the company. And if you show yourself as dependable, reliable, that you can learn things quickly, that you can work well with other people, that you can work well with the public, you can find an employer who will help you advance in your career.
You know, you're going the direction exactly that I want to go. So thank you for opening that door, because fast food restaurants,
Yes.
they always get a bad rap. You know, the comment is, I don't want to flip burgers. But a couple of questions in relation to that. Should young people even apply at fast food restaurants? And can you work up the corporate ladder at fast food restaurants?
Absolutely, you can. They have management trainee programs. So if you're flipping burgers, working the counter, and doing a good job at it, you're dependable, you show up when you're supposed to, you communicate with your supervisor, you work well with the customers, you can handle conflict and manage your way through conflict if it's with a coworker or if it's a customer. If they see those qualities in you, they're going to want to help you advance, because it's an advantage to them to do that. Now, even if you don't stay with the fast food operation, let's suppose you decide it's going to be there, it's going to be for a few months. You can still put them on your resume, and if you impress your supervisor, you can use that as a reference for the next job that you're going for. And an employer, whatever they might be, when they call your previous employer, and that employer can say some specific things about you that were good work qualities, that will help you land a new job. So no matter where you're at, what job you're doing, whether it's paid, whether it's volunteer, whether your supervisor is mean to you, whether you're not, you like your coworkers, you need to do the best you can at that job, because that's what's going to pay off for you in the future. You don't really care about those people you didn't get along with. You don't care so much about their future, but your future hinges very much upon how well you handle those situations.
What is an ideal attitude for someone who is young and gets one of these jobs, whether it be at the fast food restaurant or the lawyer, law firm, or anywhere else? What's the attitude they should take to work every day?
Every day they should be at that work, focused on the job that they are there to do.
No text messaging, you mean?
No text messaging, no thinking about what you're going to say to that boy or that girl that you've got on your mind all the time. Focus on your job, pay attention to that, pay attention to your surroundings, be aware of what's going on, look for ways to be of more value to your employer. Now, some coworkers might call you some unpleasant names for that, okay? You know what? That's their problem. It's not your problem. You're seeking a better life for yourself to advance your career, and the things you can do for that are always in your control. Even if you have a supervisor that's hard to get along with, or you have coworkers that's hard to get along with, you still have control over how you react in certain situations. And even if your good reactions don't pay off in that job, in that role, just the fact that you're developing that quality better in yourself is going to pay off down the road, because you can use that new skill down the road, even if you never have a supervisor give you a good reference because of it. So every time you're showing up for work for that job, focus your attention doing the best job that you can, knowing that that's going to pay off for you in the future, regardless of who else is behaving otherwise around you.
You know, some people out there are picky about what job they want to go into, so they'll stay unemployed for months.
Right.
Your opinion on that?
Well, I can hand you a gun and let you shoot yourself in the foot if you'd like to do that as well. Staying unemployed looks really bad on a resume. If you are trying to get a job and you're not finding it, and you're finding that you can't even invest that much time because their jobs just aren't out there, find something else to be productive with. Volunteer your time somewhere. We have opportunities. I mentioned earlier the aviation interns, that positions that we have available, where a young person can come and be involved with us on a volunteer basis, and we will give them a letter of reference. telling about how they were punctual, they were reliable, they were able to learn new things, they were able to teach things to other volunteers. So we can show work qualities in a volunteer environment that a person can use later. But if they can't show on a resume what they were doing during a block of time, that's hard to overcome when you're interviewing with an employer.
Competition. You know, we see the lines at these job fairs all the time. We see the unemployment rates. I mean, you're from Fresno, you're from this area, so you know the unemployment rate here is high. Is it really that tough out there?
Well, there is some tough to it, but you don't need to get 5 jobs. You need to get 1 job. So going to this job fair and seeing these lines of people could be discouraging if you're going at it with the wrong mindset. Now, if you're going at it with that wrong mindset, you're probably not going to be a good employee for me anyway. But if you're going at the right mindset, what I would expect you to be doing is go stand in these lines and have conversations with the other youth in line. Learn a little bit about your competition. Look how well they're dressed. Compare that with how well you're dressed. Engage them in conversation and see how are you able to handle a conversation compared to them. When you're getting close to that employer who's sitting behind this table, listen in on their conversation. Maybe you'll pick up something about what that employer is looking for. So you can improve your skills in interviewing by leaps and bounds by going to a job fair, even if you walk away without a job. And statistically speaking, most of the youth who come to this job fair are going to walk away without a job. Okay, that's the honest statistics of it. There is not a job there for each young person. However, every young person who walks away from that job fair without a job can walk away with a tremendous amount of benefit for having been there. Not only for talking to the other job seekers there, but also talking to the employers. Let's suppose you're walking past an employer who's got nobody standing there in front of them. And you realize who they are and you decide it's not really an appropriate job for you anyway. But you could go ahead and spend a few minutes talking with that employer and ask them questions. What makes a good employee for you? What kind of things in your employees have you been disappointed with in the past? You can learn tremendous things by talking to these people, asking them questions about what they think about the employment market and the job market. So there's talking to the other job seekers, talking to the employers, actually seeking a job, and spending all that time just thinking through the environment of jobs. Now, one other. This I just love this one. A lot of young people coming to this job fair will be thinking, well, there's this kind of job for young people, and there's fast food, and there's convenience stores, and there's this and this, and they can think maybe half a dozen jobs. What they're going to see at this job fair is a whole bunch of companies and organizations that have jobs for young people that they had never thought of. Perhaps that they have career jobs that's a few years down the road that they haven't thought of. How many times do you ask a young person, what do you want to be when they grow up? And the answer is, I don't know. Well, this is a place where you can look at a menu of jobs.
It's a great way to put it.
Yeah. You go to a restaurant, do you want to look at a menu? Or are you going to trust yourself to know what they have available? Well, this is a menu. So there's a whole lot of benefit in going to a job fair, even if you aren't interested in a job right now. Let's suppose you have a job right now and you have no interest in leaving it. You got time off on this day. This could still be a tremendous benefit to go to.
You know, I'm going to ask you another question, and then we're going to show your second flyer.
Right.
Dressing. We've talked about it a couple of times, and sometimes I've been to job fairs where people will come and they are not the best dressed. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but, you know, wearing flip-flops, for one.
Yeah.
Wearing a T-shirt. Wearing a T-shirt with some saying on it that might not be appropriate.
Yeah.
Talk about outfit.
Well, I've seen those show up at this job fair, and we've had a lot of comments, and even the employers who have been at the job fair comment that the youth coming to this job fair are, by and large, dressed rather well, and they've been pleased and impressed with them. But yet, I have seen the ones who aren't. My theory, that's just my theory, is that those are the ones who are coming to the job fair because somebody made them go, or there's a relative, or somebody in their life that they want to be able to say, hey, I went to the job fair and I came away without a job, so they dress that way to ensure they won't get a job. Not a good idea. Best idea is to come to the job fair dressed better than, a little bit better than the type of job that you think that you want to go for. But if you show up dressed in a suit, really dressed, top end, and you wind up being interested in a job that does not need that level of dress, that employer is not going to be dissuaded from considering you.
So
You don't
overdressing won't hurt you, basically.
Not going to hurt. Not going to hurt.
So let's show this next flyer
Right.
here, and it'll give our audience members more information about the event. You have a lot of partners.
Yeah.
It looks like a well-organized event, but, you know, talk about some of your partners.
Oh, these partners are amazing. They have just baffled me year after year with what they're willing to come up to the table and do for us. Fresno County Office of Education came up with money. They came up with distribution of flyers and posters. City of Fresno, the mayor's office, and the City of Fresno HR department, they're actually going to be there at a table telling about the jobs that they have available and talking with people. The Chamber of Commerce is actually where this is based out of, so they've been supporting this all along. It's important to the business community and the members of the Chamber of Commerce that we have a strong, viable economic base here, and getting our young people into jobs and encouraging them to stay in this community is very much in line with the objectives of the Chamber of Commerce. Manchester Center gives us this space for free.
That's incredible.
It's just incredible. They have been amazing to work with. The County of Fresno, they're listed here as one of our partners. They have been amazing what they come to the table with. They've come to the table with money. They've come to the table with personnel. They've come to the table with the executives of their organization in helping planning. They are actively involved in our planning process all the way through. And the most amazing, incredible thing is when I told you about these job fair preparation workshops at the high schools, they actually take their staff out to the high schools and conduct training for young people for how to behave at the job fair and in an interview. I went to one of these sessions last year at Edison High School to see what they're doing, and I was surprised and amazed. I was expecting one or two of their staff there to do this. They had, I think, about 12
That's
of their
incredible.
staff there. And what they were doing is they had, in this one large room, they had students seated in seats and a speaker talking to them. Over here, they had students seated in seats and a speaker talking to them in the same room. And I was standing in the room. There were several other people there, and one of their staff people was talking with me. And I was trying to keep my voice down so I wouldn't be disturbing. He was talking at full volume. I said, hey, shouldn't we be talking softer? He said, no, we want to create a loud atmosphere because that's what the kids are going to experience at the job fair. They need to be able to know how to focus their attention. Then the kids went into this next room where there was another probably 10 of their staff doing one-on-one interviews with these kids. It was like speed dating, where they spend 2 or 3 minutes in interview, get some feedback from the interviewer, then they shift to another person. So in a very short amount of time, they get an amazing amount of input and training for how to interview. Now, I asked one of the directors of the Department of Social Services, is the folks who does this, why are you doing this? How does this fit the mission of your organization to be doing this? And what she told me is that this helps keep these kids off of the welfare rolls later.
Which makes sense.
That is important part of their mission. And I was just amazed about that. That is genius. And all these other organizations have similar mindsets. So there's a state center consortium. They represent about 43 different school districts in our region. They've been amazing with what they brought to the table. The Fresno County EDC, the Workforce Investment Board, the Employment Development Department, the Downtown Business Hub, the phone number that we give out for the youth job seekers to call is actually their office. They're taking the phone calls from the youth because we needed somebody to do it. And then Fresno Pacific University, they help with catering to the employers. They provide all the coffee and the water for the employers. They have come up with cash money to help. They've come up with printing services. It's just amazing what these helpers are doing.
We're running out of time this week on the program. I
All
can
right.
talk to you for another hour easy about attire, about resume, and about all that other stuff that comes along with this. But when is this event? Where is this event? Why should youth come out? And more importantly, if there are a lot of people there, why should they stay focused?
Okay, it's April 16th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. unless you find out how to get there for the VIP entrance. It's at the Manchester Center. You take the entrance door that's on the Blackstone side nearest Shields. And I want to hit one other thing. We've been talking about the youth and why they should be there. What we haven't been talking about is the employers and why they should be there and how to get there. So the employers, you can go to the web address of www.fresnochamber.com / that's the one on the question mark key, / MYJF for Mayor's Youth Job Fair. So you get more information there and see how to register for it. But it's important for you to be there to help with the community, help with your own staffing needs, to show young people about your business and your industry and why they should consider going into that in the future.
Doug, sounds like a great program, and thank you for all your volunteer work and the chamber and the group that's putting this thing on.
Thank you, Sevag.
That's all for this edition of San Joaquin Spotlight. Our guest this week is Doug Betts. I'll call him our very own because he works on the San Joaquin Spotlight production as a volunteer. So thank you for that as well.
Sure.
Along with thanking Doug, I'd like to thank the volunteers that are working each and every week on this program. We couldn't do this show without their work, and as you can see, it's an excellent production. Thank you to 90.7 FM, KFSR Fresno, and our listeners listening to us on the radio there. And to those of you watching on CMAC, AT&T 99, and Comcast 93. I'm your host, Sevag Tateosian. Tune in next week to a new edition.
Say you love